we had Spider-Man Brand New Day this week. This is coming from director Destin Daniel Cretton, director of Short Term 12 and Just Mercy, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But also Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, and a good deal of Wonder Man. He was the showrunner, I believe, or the main producer on that, and then also did a couple episodes himself. And then we have the main returning cast of the Tom Holland group with Tom Holland, Zendaya, Jacob
Batalon.
Not Battalion. I'm an idiot. But I always see his name pronounced different ways, and I've never actually just like looked at the spelling of it, and I'm like, oh, I'm an idiot. That's fine. But then we also got Tramell Tillman, Michael Mando coming in as Scorpion, John Bernthal, Mark Ruffalo, Sadie Sink. Who's Sadie Sink? We'll talk about it. But I think that this cast is great, and it's just Peter Parker living alone and figuring out the balance of how do you handle the responsibility of being Spider-Man and keeping everyone you love safe, and how do you have your own social life? And I think that this film does it so well. But before I talk way too much, Corey, Brand New Day, what are your initial thoughts?
Yeah, before I say my thoughts, for everyone wondering, yes, I did get the Webberoni pizza from Little Caesars. Was wondering.
I think it should be in frame.
Last year I had the Fantastic Four pizza.
Which I'm still staring at the box on the other side of the room. Mold in there.
And then I got the Spider-Man one, the Webberoni. There's a web of pepperoni.
Who's this guy?
Webberoni. That's Little Caesars guy. He's swinging around, the pizza guy.
Oh, I see his mouth now. Okay.
Yeah, see his mouth.
Yeah, he's all mouth. He's 80% mouth. A dream. A dream.
80% mouth, 20%...
sticky goodness. Sticky, cheap goodness. Was the pizza good?
Yeah, it was a good pizza.
It was just a generic
pizza. It
pizza?
was good pizza with pepperoni webbed across it, so that was fun.
Webbed?
Anyway, yeah, it was
Scary.
like webs of... looked like...
Webs of
pepperoni.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Not sticky
No,
goodness.
not the sticky goodness. Which we get a little bit of Tom Holland dealing with the sticky goodness.
We do get some sticky goodness in this movie.
Yeah. Yelena's in this movie.
Yelena's in this movie.
Yeah.
No, so this movie was awesome. It was fun to see this in theaters. 5 years after No Way Home.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I just thought that this movie balanced a lot of things really well. And that was something going into it where I was worried, like, man, we have a lot of characters showing up in this thing. I'm like, a lot of side villains and Hulk and Punisher. And
almost like the
Sink.
Superman, the DC Superman kind of.
And that's something that I still have an issue with that movie, where it just feels like it's trying to do too much and it doesn't all feel necessary. Whereas this movie, I think they balance it really well and everything kind of weaves together in a great way. Between all his relationships with Ned and MJ, and just seeing them in public and being like, those are my friends, and like I want to be hanging out with them. Yeah. They're at MIT having fun. And then you have Sadie Sink's character, which we'll get into spoilers here in a little bit. But then just even like the relationship with the Punisher, I really like, even though it doesn't quite feel like the Punisher from like One Last Kill that we just saw a couple months ago.
Super dark.
Which like they do that in the MCU sometimes, like characters hopping in and out. But I think he meshed really well with Spider-Man here. It's great to see Mark Ruffalo back as Bruce Banner and actual Hulk again.
Get rage
Hulk
monster.
Just fucking raging again.
And I think we were talking about this leaving the theater. I think that this is my favorite kind of version of the Hulk we've got in the MCU since Avengers and Thor Ragnarok. But I think the look of this one looks more traditional, grumpy Hulk, even from Avengers. Whereas, like, in Ragnarok, he kind of had, like, a clean fade, and he was a little bit too clean in the face. It's like, okay, like, I like his behavior, but, like, still his, like, visuals to him. I think this is, like, the perfect kind of handling of him in this movie, and how they kind of weave what Bruce Banner's dealing with into what Peter Parker is now going through with kind of these mutations that he's experiencing with his arachnid kind of genes in him.
Yeah, so there's a lot of great positives in this movie. The action is all really fun. Some of the best Spider-Man action, I think, and some of the best swinging.
Oh, yeah.
They did a lot of practical swinging for this movie. And just seeing the suit rippling, like the actual real costume that a kid or like a 20-year-old made is awesome to see.
Also, one of the few things you could say great about Amazing Spider-Man 2. That's where they finally had like a little ripple in the suit, and you're like, oh yeah, it's like an actual physical suit.
Yeah.
It's not like CGI pasted onto this boy.
It looks great.
Yeah.
You can see his ears in this one.
Yeah, you can see his ears, like, it is a mask. Like, I was like, oh wow, you don't have like a shell in there really filling you out to have you like a little Power Ranger helmet mask.
You don't have a Stark Tech suit of the Iron Spider or anything, which it was great to see.
He does still have a little bit of tech, but it feels more grounded to what this genius of Peter Parker could have developed.
Yeah, he took the sort of Jarvis thing.
Yeah.
I think it's Evie.
Yeah,
it's called
which I think was voiced by Naomi Watts, which I'm like,
really?
little Tom Holland, Naomi Watts from Impossible action. That's
I
great.
didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was a big win for both of us. it's kind of tough to talk about a lot of the specific things without getting into spoilers. So recommend go out and see it. Fucking everybody's seen it. Had like the second highest domestic opening weekend of all time.
I think it had the biggest opening day of all time. I think that those numbers came through finally.
I think like the final numbers aren't through yet, and it's like very close to Endgame, so it could, after the finals, be the highest one. Either way, fuck ton of people are seeing this movie, and it's awesome. So we are going to get into spoilers now. If you haven't seen it, go check it out, come back and listen to it.
And there's not a whole lot to spoil. It just, Marvel tried to keep it under wraps, who characters were, what was going on. And yeah, Sadie Sink is in this movie. Who is she playing? She is playing Jean Grey. Mm-hmm. And when that kind of, which also pissed me off on the press junket, the press tour of all these different premieres going on around the world. One of the people, I think his name's Steve Lacy, who contributed to some part of the soundtrack, performed one of the songs in the movie, was asked, and he was like, they're like, what character are you most excited to see in this movie? Without spoilers, he was like, I'm really excited to see Jean's character. She kind of plays the villain, but she has a reason. And I was like,
idiot.
For Marvel to try and keep it under wraps, which I don't think they really needed to do, and then to have it spoiled in the 11th hour, not by Tom Holland or Mark Ruffalo. Like they're both Mark Ruffalo's never been seen on this press tour. I think he's filming something else, so it's probably better for him. But to get that, and I was like, okay, so it is Jean Grey, which everyone kind of had that suspicion going in, anyways.
Yeah, and we'll start there. Just kind of more so we'll go through specific scenes and kind of breaking down some of that stuff. But I really like Sadie Sink as Jean Grey. I thought, we all had speculated it was going to be her, and when a redhead gets cast in the MCU these days, it's like, all right, well, probably Jean Grey, especially with the X-Men coming up here and kind of doing a reboot of that. And I really liked her character here, and they show some flashbacks with her sister Sarah, and just them kind of learning these telepathic powers, like jumping into people and how far you can go doing it.
The radius.
The radius, 33 feet or whatever it is. And I actually really like the way that it looked, like jumping from person to person. It looked very practical, of just people flipping and kind of jerking back. So I liked kind of that. And then we have the DODC in this movie, which Tremel Tillman, he plays Metzger, I think his name is, Bill Metzger. He's kind of the head of that, and he captures her sister in a little while back, I think it was, and then Jean's trying to find her. And I just like that as kind of the main focus for her character. And then obviously Spider-Man weaves in there of just stopping low-level crime. He's doing small potato stuff, according to Elena. And I really, kind of to jump towards the end of this movie, that final scene where she has Metzger, the glasses pointing at him, and then she goes into Peter's head, and we go to a flashback with Marissa Tomei. It's great to see her again in this movie, and a conversation that she had with Peter, where it seemed like it was around Homecoming, or right after that, maybe.
Finally getting that Spider-Man suit and becoming what we now know as Spider-Man in the MCU.
And just that conversation that she has with him, where she's like, a lot of things are going to change now because you're very powerful and more people are figuring out that you are Spider-Man. I'm finding out, your friends are going to find out, and just know that it's going to be really tough. It's not going to be easy all the time, but you have so many people around you that love you, and that is your greatest responsibility to remember that. And that's a great way to just, again, kind of do the great power, great responsibility thing, which we kind of got in No Way Home as well. But just seeing her impact on Peter still, I think that was a really smart way to do it. And then also use that when Sadie Sink comes in and she's sitting there listening to Marissa Tomei and being like, you're not alone. Even though it feels like you're alone, your sister's gone now. You are still here, and there's somebody here, this Spider-Man, this new person that cares for you and wants to help you out.
Yeah, I think that they did a good job of tying in the struggles that Peter is dealing with in this movie to what Jean Grey's character is going through, even though she's more on a revenge path, trying to find what happened to her sister, and then you get the reveal that, they did experimentation on her, and the VMAX, which is kind of almost a MacGuffin in this movie of what is VMAX, what is it? And then when you get that resolution of, it's literally the last thing that her sister saw, and it's just the air conditioning system above her head, because she died in the room that now Jean is in. And I think that revenge path of now I have no one, everyone needs to die. With what we typically have seen of Jean Grey, where she can flip on a switch, she has this all-powerful ability to just basically wipe out people, infect people, and just mass destruction, and how easy that is for her to turn, and weaving in Peter Parker of I'm trying to figure out what I can do. I'm trying to figure out my own social life, even though I'm basically addicted to the job because that's all I have. And him coming through and being like, you have a friend in me. Like, I'm here for you. And I know what they did is bad, but this is not going to resolve anything that you're seeking. Like, it's not going to bring your sister back. Your sister's gone, and I'm sorry, but I'm here now. And I think that was all done really well. We talked about John Bernthal being in this movie. And yes, it is a little bit more of like, not like, I don't want to say watered down, but it is, I think, the best you could reincorporate him into a PG-13 Marvel movie.
Yeah.
It was great to see him in an MCU movie, actually, but also his camaraderie, which John Bernthal and Tom Holland, their Hot Ones is fantastic. We watched that a little bit, and just their chemistry on screen sings, and it works so well. And I think him going to him and being like, I need you to keep track of MJ. She doesn't know Peter Parker, but she knows Spider-Man, because everyone knows Spider-Man. I need you to keep her safe, because if I try my best to keep her safe, people are going to find me, they're going to find her, and she's going to get killed. Like, she's in harm's way. And I think the biggest plus, I think, from this movie for me is how well they incorporate sad boy Peter Parker, basically, and having him deal with, like, the emotional weight that I feel like some of the MCU ones that we've had so far with Homecoming through No Way Home, we've gotten some emotional hits of him, and you get that big burden of responsibility placed on him at the end of No Way Home when Marissa Tomei dies or Aunt May dies, and he has to deal with that. And in this, it's a lot of acceptance and trying to figure that out, figure out the balance of his life, and also how he can reconnect and still have a social life and be happy, because all these stressors of him only being Spider-Man is basically mutating him and adding to this mutation of him. Mm-hmm. And we finally get him to have organic web shooters, which was really cool that they're like, oh, hey, Peter 2 had these, and he's pretty cool, so this is fine. But him figuring it out and it being pretty gross too, just like a boy going through puberty and it's just like sputtering out of him. He's like, oh god, he's like milking his wrist. I was like, oh fuck,
sticky goodness.
Yeah, sticky goodness. It was so rough, but this is the best Tom Holland has been as Spider-Man, I will say. His action, his swinging, his look, and I like that this is Spider-Man. Like, he is in that suit, I feel like 75% of this movie. Like, he's doing, like, detective work. He's meeting with people. He's going to meetings. He's fighting crime. Like, he is in the suit so much of this movie, but it doesn't become stale. The web shooting, the swinging scenes are fantastic. This is, to me, I think the best Spider-Man has looked on screen. And it satisfied me, and whereas Amazing Spider-Man 2 has great Spider-Man, I think this has a great Spider-Man in a great story, in a great movie about Peter Parker trying to figure out the balance of everything.
I love seeing him just early on in the movie tackling the small crime. Like, you don't see him much, but it's like Tombstone, Boomerang, Tarantula.
Kind of a montage through
montage. I would have liked a little bit more with them, and even Scorpion too. Like, there's a couple scenes, which is great to see Michael Mando back.
Again, to talk about Mysterio, another villain I didn't think I'd ever see in live action. It was so cool to see in his suit and his big weaponized mechanical bullshit.
Yeah, it looked great. So I just really liked, and I think that's what we were all hoping at the end of No Way Home, when you just see him in the city and in his apartment, just doing small scale in New York the whole time, doing stuff like that. I really like Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, the show. It's kind of that same way, which I enjoy, just Spider-Man in that setting. So I think that worked really well. And to kind of touch on the Zendaya and Jacob Batalon and Ned and MJ, I really liked what they did, and I was worried that they were gonna undo the end of No Way Home
way too quickly,
or like whether they were gonna do it at all. And there's the scene on the rooftop when MJ and Peter are up there, and she's like, "Oh wait, I do remember you. You are Peter." And then she kisses him. Really fucked up little trick by Jean Grey. I'm like, God damn, that's actually sick.
Gets out of that kiss. You are a really simple little spider. Like, wow, you fell for that.
Like, what the hell is this about?
She's like, I'm in her head, and there's not a single thought of Peter in here. It's crazy.
Like, wow, you are mean.
It was, which, like, again, I was the worry of, like, don't break that spell so fast, because otherwise it's a waste. And I think them toying with it so much and really fucking with Peter, I was like, that's the way to do it. Mm-hmm. Like, really drive it in and twist it. Like, this hurts. This is so mean. But that dynamic, and, like, when he tries to reinsert himself into their lives as Maynard, or as just like a Peter Parker again, and he's like, he's trying to struggle and figure it out, because he's like, they're so happy without me, and they've had so much life now without me, to reinsert myself now, how am I going to get them to spark those memories again? And I think there's a great scene post MJ with Punisher and her being kind of in like this little safe house area, when MJ gets back to the apartment where she's living with Ned, and Peter's there in his Spider-Man suit, and he's just hanging out, and they're like making quotes to pop culture stuff together, and
Lord
they're
of the
doing
Rings quotes.
yeah, Lord of the Rings quotes, and doing Legos, and he's like, God, Ned goes to pick up the banh mi that's delivered to the door because he got 5 banh mi for the 3 of them. Because Spider-Man's here and he's gonna eat, and I just like that he's like, I miss you guys. Like we had so much fun, and then MJ being like, you guys make sense as best friends. Like I can see it, and there's so much of that was handled so well. I think this is maybe the best Jacob Batalon's been as Ned for me. Like not that he's been bad, he's just been like the funny guy in the chair sidekick. But I think that there's with him not knowing Peter, there's a lot of good emotional weight there that really worked for me, and it really sold all the relationships, their friendship over the time, even though it sold it by having the absence of it, knowing what they could be. And it's just, it was really satisfying to me. I only have a couple of negatives, and it's not even like a big negative. It's just, there is a lot of characters in this movie. And with Punisher, with Yelena briefly, which I loved her scene, she was really funny. And you got Scorpion and all that stuff. But I think the Hand is introduced in this movie. But I feel like they don't do enough to warrant them really being in this movie, aside from giving Spider-Man kind of an army of a villain that he has to go up against to get to Jean Grey and have like that barrier, that blockade be a multi-team unit. And I'm just like, I don't think that you needed them, but I get it. It didn't take me out of it. You get some great action scenes towards the end with the Hand in it, and I was just like, okay, but like it feels weird that that's something bridging over from the Daredevil Netflix stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't think we have like a true good reason aside from, we introduced them in something else so long ago, let's just bring them back now. So I could do away with that. I will say the score is great. It's still Michael Giacchino. It's a little bit altered. The soundtrack in this movie is really special. I think that they had such good needle drops in this movie that really worked for me, unlike Amazing Spider-Man 2 of Gone, Gone, Gone. Fucking dog shit
It's
needle
American
drop in that
Idol winner
movie.
Philip Phillips.
Yeah, what has he made now? What's going on now? That song, when that plays in Amazing Spider-Man 2, is so over the top, so indie, like, oh, I'm so moody. I was like, oh, settle down. In this, all of it, like, Loser by Tame Impala plays, and you get some Bad Bunny in here briefly. It was such a fun movie that had just like a wide-spanning soundtrack that really spoke to like the diversity of New York, and it felt really cool, and it felt really specific to what he was going through in the movie. It worked really well.
Yeah. To go back to that scene you were talking about when they're in the apartment, the scene before that when they're on Punisher's boat and Spider-Man comes back after a fight and MJ finds the note that he had written to her, intending to tell her that he knew her and loved her still. I thought that was a great scene, maybe my favorite in the movie, where she's like, I believe that girl and you were in love, and we're great friends, but like I don't love you.
I'm not.
I don't have those memories. I'm not there, and it's kind of reminded me of the end of Guardians 3 when and Gamora to Peter's like, I bet we were fun, but I'm going with the Ravagers now. Like I'm not with you anymore. So a lot of our MCU heroes are going through some fucking heartbreak.
A lot of Peters in the MCU are really
for real.
struggling right now.
Yeah, but I really like that scene. One little, just like, I don't know, it felt a little clunky getting to there was that scene happens, and then MJ's like, I'm going to leave. And she walks out and then comes back and she's like, actually, I need a ride.
Yeah.
And, like, I guess it wasn't really played for a joke, but it was kind of a lighter thing. I'm like, I just want to sit with that moment more. But then they go and he, like, swings her back to the apartment. And then they're like, all right, well, we're going to leave. And then she's like, do you actually want to come up and do this? And then they go up into that apartment scene we were talking about, which I like both of those scenes. It just felt like a weird little clunky getting to there to me. But I think that to touch on the Hulk fight a little bit more, that was so much fun. Just as I don't care if it's 2006 or 2026, I'm going to get excited when Punisher, Spider-Man, and Hulk are fighting. And just you see the frame of the three of them sliding and shooting and punching.
Yeah, Spider-Man pulling Bernthal as he's just which like Punisher, like they're trying to figure out because the Jean's in this area, Hulk's here, and Spider-Man and Punisher are like, okay, so who's gonna go where? And he's like, I'll go after the girl. He's like, I feel like you're just trying to get out of fighting the Hulk, and he's like, yeah. Which there's some great I complain about the grunty John Bernthal Punisher, but there are some scenes, especially when he puts on a Spider-Man mask to help kind of get Spider-Man out of the spot. and he's just like in a window as Spider-Man, and I was like, oh, this is really funny. I like this.
Yeah. Yeah, that was great. I love just that scene too when Peter's walking through, like, as Bernthal's in the hospital window, and he's just in the crowd of people, and like the kid just does the Spider-Man thing to him, and it's just the difference between, I think it was No Way Home when he's like going to school and everybody knows that he's Spider-Man, and they're just like, oh, we don't like Spider-Man, blah blah.
Oh.
But then in this movie they're like, oh, we've been waiting out here for however long, just like waiting, hoping Spider-Man's okay. That was just such a great little moment, and there's so many great moments like that throughout this movie. I also want to shout out Liza Colin-Zayas, who I love in The Bear. She plays the cop with NYPD, DeWolf. She was just a nice little, like, hey, like, where the police are working with Spider-Man here. Just a nice little thing of them talking about, like, hey, did you see this bank robbery? And she's like, we got it. Like, you can heal up. You're fine. Like,
you have headaches nonstop. You're going through shit. Do you never stop working?
Yeah,
like,
take a second. You're fine.
Good Commissioner Gordon to Spider-Man, basically.
Yeah, exactly. I agree that the look of this movie is really great. I think I really like the John Watts trilogy, but the direction was never something that was amazing.
Yeah.
I think he directed them well.
Yeah.
But even Destin Daniel Cretton coming into this movie, I thought that he just brought the great character work that he did in some of his previous movies, which I'll talk about in a second, but then the great action that he did in Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
And meshing that together. And there are some great, the snapshots kind of from like old Marvel covers, like comic book covers, that I remember when we were talking the trailers, I remember you specifically like, I don't like the look of this, and like these trailers aren't really working, but in the movie, it works really well.
It is part of that montage, so it is quick, and it, honestly, the way it's presented in the trailer is pretty similar to just how it shows up in the movie, but it works well in the flow of the story, and it's just like, oh, okay, and you get like those classic comic book covers, but to piggyback off of what you're talking about, just the direction, not only that, the look of this movie, the visuals, the contrast in the picture, there are so many great just still shots of like Peter laying down overlooking the city, and it's like, oh my god, like I like the previous 3 Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, but they're all kind of like flatly lit, and you don't get a lot of contrast and a lot of like night imagery or a lot of good shadow. In this movie, you get great shadow, and it was the director of photography was Brett Pollack, who has worked with Destin Daniel Cretton before, but he previously was cinematographer in Last Jedi. And there's just so many great images in this film of like, wow, like the suit looks real, which granted he is more likely in this movie wearing a practical suit as opposed to the previous 3, where it was some CGI overlay and a little bit more like smoother.
Yeah.
This, you can see the texture, you can see the light hitting different aspects of the suit, and just the shadows that were created in this film, and just the way New York looked. It was so warm, and it was just so nice to see something that, while it does continue a lot of the great stuff from the John Watts trilogy, it also just revamps and takes it in a different direction in terms of like a visual experience, to where I was like, this is what I've wanted with a present day Spider-Man movie, where the other 3 I think have dwindled a little bit. Rewatching No Way Home, you still get great shots, like after Aunt May dies and he's looking up at J. Jonah Jameson, it's raining, it's at night. Like, there's some really good shots in there, but this was that consistently done. And I was so blown away. And it ties into the swinging, it ties into all the Spider-Man stuff. But like, even just a shot of New York, and I was like, wow, this feels so tangible. It feels more real. There's not a Flash Thompson standing on a corner in New York, and it's just like, this was in a volume or dog shit green screen. Like, what's going on? Yeah. This all feels like they shot it on location. So it was such a great visual experience, aside from it being an awesome Spider-Man movie.
Yeah. Just a couple last little notes that I had. Back to just the Hulk fight for a second. It seemingly confirmed that Hulk is the only person that still remembers that Peter is Spider-Man. Like, I think that they kind of hinted at that a little bit, because like when Hulk is hanging there and Peter's like, hey, it's Peter, like, I know, like, there's like a recognition, it seems like, from Hulk. I don't think it's like confirmed yet, but it seemed like that's what they were kind of hinting at. I don't know if you felt the same way, really.
I didn't pick up on that, but I just, overall, I liked him going to Bruce Banner at the college that he's a professor at and being like, oh, my name's Ned Leeds, and like, hey, I have questions about your inhibitor and how they work that dynamic in, and how they bring it back, and also how can we use this for Jean Grey. So I think that all is done really well, but this is maybe some of my favorite Bruce Banner we've had, because it's just him being smart. And like him teaching, and he's like, all right, anyone got questions? Is it about Avengers stuff? Okay, fine, like whatever, like, okay, cool. I liked his inclusion a lot there. The inhibitor chip thing, I really liked that
just for Peter's character that he embraces the change that's happening, especially in that fight with the hand when I like the way his eyes go black.
Oh, that's
really
terrifying.
Cool. And he injures the cop earlier in the movie, and he's
Yeah.
like, damn, I gotta get this under control. And even like MJ, when she's talking to him, she's like, this is some dangerous stuff. Like you're like messing with your DNA or mRNA, whatever it is. And then him just at the end finally being like, no, I need to like take this thing out. I need to use this and kind of give into that a little bit, which is great. Also, I don't think we saw Tremel Tillman. He didn't die, obviously, but I think he got away. So he's probably going to pop up again.
I like him in this. He's basically just like a Milchick in here, too, where he's just like part of a corporation and he's kind of in on it, where he's like, we're doing shady shit, but I'm going to be really nice to you.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay, what's going on? And I think that how they discover the fact that he's kind of keeping stuff away from Spider-Man and lying to him about like, oh no, when Jean Grey was in my head, I remember Sarah or like whatever name of something. And he's like, well, when I talked to MJ and Jean Grey infected her mind, she didn't remember anything. So why do you remember Sarah unless you're lying to me? And I think that like this was a very well thought out story where it didn't feel kind of thrown together or like slapped about in terms of like, how are we going to get from point A to B and C? It felt like a natural progression throughout. And I was always like, I never knew really where it was going. I knew Jean Grey is like, she is the end game here. She is basically the villain of this movie. And they do a great thing of just redeeming her and bringing her back. And I think that they also leave a lot of stuff just kind of alone. They don't over-explain or go too far into it where it would be like, there's a shot where Jean Grey towards the end of the movie is on a bus going out into like a heavily wooded area and they just leave it there. And it's like, I'm like, were you going to see the X-Mansion at all? And I'm like, I like that it's just kind of restrained. It's like, we'll touch on that later. This is a Spider-Man movie, not a Jean Grey movie. And with that as well, I think that this being a Spider-Man movie, they really developed him, like, this is what we've wanted of Peter Parker, being on his own, and I think that they really developed that well. And this is the most Spider-Man we've gotten with the MCU movies, where it's just him on his own, aside from Tony Stark or Happy Hogan, which I would have loved to see Hogan in this, or Jon Favreau, but I don't know narratively how you make that really work.
Yeah.
I'm still thrilled that we got a little bit more Aunt May, and that I think that how they use that scene to work for both Peter and for Jean is just really well written. So I think that this is far and away one of the best Spider-Man movies, and it just feels the most comic booky. It also definitely takes inspiration, the action at least, takes inspiration from the Insomnia games on PS3 and PS4 of Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2, and that action, that web slinging, and some of his combat. I love the humor that we got with him, as like you see it in the trailer of like, all right, I'm gonna stretch. I'm not in high school anymore.
Yeah.
You guys stretch? You should stretch.
Great Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, just great Spider-Man stuff like that. So I don't have like a glaring issue with this movie. I have like nitpicks of the hand and maybe how some scenes maybe played out, but overall I was just from ear to ear just grinning the entire time. And that scene when he's in that like green sweatshirt after he leaves the hospital and he's doing that, and it's just like, that's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
It's just the shit that makes you tear up a little bit of like, this is why this character works for everyone, because everyone can see themselves in that moment, and it's fantastic. So heavily recommend. It is, I will say, my number 2 favorite film of 2026 behind The Odyssey. July really just gave us haymakers towards the end here, so it was a really good watch through, and I can't wait to go see it again. I do at least want to see it one more time. My wife, when I told her we were going, she was like, "Oh, what movie you guys seen?" I was like, "Oh, Brand New Day." She was like, "Do you guys have how many tickets do you guys have?" And I was like, "Oh, did you want to see this?" She's like, "I love Spider-Man." I was like, "I didn't know you wanted to go see this. I'm so sorry." So now I definitely need to take my wife to go check it out, which I'm not mad about because I'm excited to see this again on the big screen.
Yeah, I like the way this movie ends too, with Peter and Ned doing the handshake. I've seen some discussion of people being like, "Oh, Ned fully remembers who he is." I didn't read it that way.
No,
because like I read it as Ned heard that Spider-Man's name is Peter from MJ, and then this guy comes in that he kind of knows. He's like, "Hey, I'm Peter." He's like, that's him putting it together. Like, oh,
well,
okay.
And I've seen even people speculating about when Jean Grey did that big like outreach and basically created almost like a bubble of people in like a haze and a pause state where she's in people's minds or stuff like that, and they're all just frozen in space and frozen in time. I've seen people reason or try and speculate that is her basically unlocking memories for some people, so that while Zendaya's like tearing up and crying, like, is that just her performance, or is it, oh no, she's starting to remember things? And then we get that shot later on of her sitting on a rooftop with broken Black Dahlia
Yeah.
necklace from Far From Home, and it's like, okay, that kind of works for me, and I'm happy that it's like left a little bit up to speculation, where
Yeah.
it's like not so heavy-handed. Oh, we all remember you now. Everything's great again. Like,
Yeah.
I like that they kind of leave on that note. Him doing the handshake, him and Ned catching on to it, them finishing out, and he's like, Peter, and that's the end of that scene.
Yeah.
And I'm like, perfect. That's the way it should go. And I like that we can still further develop that in later movies, and that is not all sewed up, tied up with a bow, and all. Everyone's happy, everyone knows each other. I think that it's a good jumping off point of, we can rebuild this, and we can maybe remember some stuff, but we can redevelop a new friendship. So, it did so much good character work that was just deeply satisfying for me without undoing a big kind of plot convenience of No Way Home. So
Yeah.
I really did enjoy how they handled that.
And yeah, I agree 100%. I hadn't really like considered that she kind of undid that, but I'd be cool if that'd be fine with
And
that.
I never thought about that. I only saw that when I saw other people talking about this movie. I was like, oh, I guess that could be
make
there.
sense.
That could be why Zendaya's crying and why. I'm like, I just thought it was Zendaya's great performance, which I think this is my favorite MJ we've gotten.
Yeah, she's
Best
good.
Zendaya
Yeah.
performance for me in these Tom Holland Spider-Man movies. So, and their chemistry is still obviously great. They're married and they're in fucking every movie together this
Yeah.
year. So, it was like everyone was on their A game this movie for me, and it just really worked.
Yeah, to briefly touch on the credits of this movie. First of all, I like the just main end credits. It's
Yeah.
just shots of New York and people there. No characters like that we saw in the movie, just New Yorkers.
Yeah.
I think that plays a lot into the theme of this movie, which I really enjoyed. There's no mid-credit scene. There is just one post-credit scene, which is not really like there's no definitive answer, at least that I've seen.
Which again, I like.
Yeah, I agree. It's the Ned throughout the movie has the Spidey tracker. He tracks his location, sees where he's going, and then the post-credit scene of the movie is that tracker comes up, and then it detects a new Spider-Man, and it zooms out on the tracker and goes to space, and just shows a Spider-Man dot
Yeah.
in space. I mean, it could be like Toby or Andrew
Yeah.
from their other universe, or some other Spider-Man. Could be a Miles Morales. Could be a Venom thing.
It could even
I don't
just be
know.
Tom Holland at that point is now being summoned to Battle World or some
a
other
Secret Wars thing?
some
Yeah.
Secret Wars type stuff. So I'm excited that we have Doomsday this year, and then now it is Doomsday, Secret Wars. So it's like we're gonna get some Spider-Man in there.
Yep.
And I'm excited to see how this new developed Spider-Man, where people don't know he's Peter Parker, but they know of Spider-Man, how he works into the story there, and how that kind of camaraderie that he's gonna have to redevelop, I guess, with a new team of Avengers is gonna be really cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah, across the board, love this movie. Go check it out. You probably already did. Go see it again. It's going to make all the money. It's probably, I think it might rival No Way Home in terms of overall gross or overall box office, which would be fantastic. Maybe outperform it. It'd be awesome. So, I think that this is a better movie than No Way Home, just consistently. Do you want to do a Spider-Man ranking now?
Yeah, let's rip into it. I'll let you go first. I'd still maybe changing some things, so I'm going to let you go.
I'm actually going to go 1 to 11. So I'm going to start at my favorite and work my way down. My favorite Spider-Man movie, and I don't think it's ever going to change just based out of nostalgia, is the original Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie that has played an important role in my life and in my childhood. I watched it at my dad's funeral when I was having a hard time, and I watched it with a buddy that we went to elementary school, middle school, and high school with. So it was just like a nice moment of being able to just grow up with that movie. I love the charm of the Raimi movies so much. So first is Spider-Man. Then Spider-Man Brand New Day is my number 2. I love it. I think it is the perfect Spider-Man movie, in all honesty. It's not going to edge out the charm and the nostalgia of the first Spider-Man. So, 1, Spider-Man. 2, Spider-Man Brand New Day. 3, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man 2. 4, Spider-Man No Way Home. 5, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. 6, Spider-Man Homecoming. 7, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. 8, Spider-Man Far From Home. 9, The Amazing Spider-Man. 10, Spider-Man 3. 11, The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Which, I still love Spider-Man 3, it's not great. A lot of nostalgia there. The Amazing Spider-Man 2, while I don't like that movie, there are still a lot of great things in it. We haven't had like an all outright horrible Spider-Man movie yet, which I am deeply grateful for because, again, he is my favorite superhero.
Yeah, this is a tough ranking. This is a really difficult one because like 1 through 8 for me is like really tough to.
Yeah.
I could switch these around a lot.
I don't know what your definitive favorite is. Are you going 11 to 1?
I'll do the same as you. I'll go
Okay.
1 to 11 here. So at number 1, I have Spider-Man 2. I love the Raimi movies.
Yeah.
Obviously, like you said, Doc Ock is such a great villain. The Peter and MJ stuff I really like in that movie. Number 2, I have the original Spider-Man, the Sam Raimi one. Number 3, I have Spider-Man Homecoming. That is still my favorite of the Tom Holland movies. I think that it is the most for me, consistent throughout, and also has the best villain of his 4 movies,
Oh, yeah.
which is a important thing for me. Because even like Jean Grey's not really a villain, and like Metzger, he's a villain, but he's not like a big menacing villain.
In Brand New Day, you have a lot of villains, but there's no like this is the end all big bad, which Vulture and Homecoming is the best. I'll agree with you. The best Holland villain that we've had.
I think just between being in high school, Spider-Man, I love that, mixed with that villain in the car scene with Michael Keaton is fucking great. And the just plot twist of that also was like, whoa, didn't expect that in this movie. Holy shit, I didn't consider that could be a thing here. So that's still my favorite of the Tom Holland movies. At number 4, I have Across the Spider-Verse, and 5 is Into the Spider-Verse. They're both very close for me, but those movies... They are so good. They're fucking awesome. I cannot wait for Beyond the Spider-Verse. At number 6, I have No Way Home, 7 Brand New Day, and 8 Far From Home. I think for me, No Way Home had bigger emotions for me than Brand New Day, and so I edged out just a little bit there. I think Brand New Day is more consistently good.
Yeah.
But I think No Way Home...
The highs of that movie.
The highs of that movie, and I know you said this is your favorite Tom Holland in Brand New Day.
Yeah.
I think for me it's No Way Home. I think his performance there with Aunt May dying, with the other Peters, I just think that was the best Tom Holland's been as this character.
That's the first time we really get a sense of his spider sense. Like they joke about the Peter Tingle in Far From Home, but you see it finally in action in No Way Home, especially when he's going through Happy's apartment and he's like, "What's going on?" And he just webs the Green Goblin. And he's like, "Oh."
You got me.
You got me.
So it's very close though, and I still really like Far From Home, even though it is lower on the ranking. I think it's a great movie.
Yeah.
And then number 9, The Amazing Spider-Man. 10, The Amazing Spider-Man 2. 11, Spider-Man 3. We've had a lot of conversations this week about The Amazing Spider-Man 2. I have always liked that movie. Both Amazing Spider-Man movies. I think Andrew Garfield is a great Spider-Man. I think he's a little too cool for Peter Parker.
Yep, I always thought that too.
I think like Tobey was a great Peter Parker to me, and a good Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I think Andrew's a great Spider-Man, but I think Tom Holland is the best of both of that coming together. But I don't know, all the relationship between Gwen Stacy and Peter in those movies really works for me. And her death, like I remember the first time I saw that, and anytime I rewatch it now, it hits me really hard. Just like her head hits really hard on the floor, ground, whatever. Don't shake your head.
Again, if it was in a better movie, that point would really sing for me, but it just... The movie already dropped me way before they dropped Gwen, so...
I just think, like, that is the strongest part of both of those movies. I think a lot of people would agree with that
dynamic.
Probably. And so that's why it works well for me when she does die and he's dealing with that. Is there dumb stuff in that movie? Yeah, absolutely. Fixing his teeth when he does that. Like, there's a lot of little things that people are like, that ruins the movie for me. I'm like, small moment.
In No Way Home, the way that they kind of combat that when he and Sandman are talking, and he's like, I fell into a vat of eels. He's like, oh, I fell into like a particle accelerator or whatever it was. And he's just like, you gotta watch where you're stepping. I love that. And I love that, to piggyback off of Doc Ock in Spider-Man 2, that in No Way Home, he is still the most... He's not like an outright villain. He's the one that kind of caves, and he's like, no, he's trying to help us, and he's still a good guy at heart. I'm like, God, he is maybe the best Spider-Man villain we've had in Spider-Man 2, and his lingering on through No Way Home. But I think we haven't had like the most egregious misstep actually as a villain is probably Dane DeHaan's Green Goblin, just because it was so rushed. But
Topher Grace Venom.
That too, also very rushed. So.
Yeah, even though Spider-Man 3 is at the bottom, I still like that movie. Yeah. It's very nostalgic, and like that one for me is just the most. That Amazing Spider-Man 2 are the most messy with all the villains and shit they're trying to do. There's still some good stuff in there, but so there we go. There's like 45 minutes of Spider-Man talk, but it was a lot of fun though. It was great to see that movie this week.